ready, hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want to go!
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
For Wednesday Week!
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Hello From The Other Side, the Wednesday Week's match preview show. Today, I'm joined by Dean from Sky Blue Extras, and we're looking to try and avoid, we've just been talking about it off camera, trying to avoid that Stockholm syndrome feeling as we look forward to the latest, or our bi-monthly game, it feels like it is at the moment, against Coventry City in this week's episode of...
Hello from the other side.
Dean, how are we?
Good, Steve. I think I've heard that jingle more than my phone ringtone actually over the last year or so. But yeah, good to be back. I think, do I get like a little cup or something for like the sixth appearance on here?
Listen. By the time that the next time that you're on, I'm going to get you a gold watch.
Well, if you got any ad revenue from my face popping up, then you can afford it.
That's it. I think you've been on more than Holly this season, to be honest with you. It is. It's the sixth time that we will have played each other on Saturday since Boxing Day last year. And I was doing a little bit of sort of digging around and thinking about it and looked at the fixtures. We actually play each other again on the 15th of February. Mm-hmm. So we will have played each other 7 times in 13 and a half months. So it literally is, when I say it's bi-monthly, we literally play each other every other month at the moment, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and our replay's not involved this time.
No, thankfully
they've
not.
gone completely. I thought they were just like up until round 3 or something, because I was just getting visions of it happening again.
I'm fairly certain that it's a one and done this Saturday. So
that's good.
With the greatest of respect, as much as I love you, we'll have you on in a couple of weeks again, no doubt.
It's not like we're going to get like, people want a replay for gate receipts and stuff like that. I just don't think these two sides can be really asked with facing each other and going to matches, really. I know you're bringing a hell of a lot on Saturday, which you always do, traveling your numbers, but I can't see us selling out the CBS on Saturday, especially at 6 o'clock. It's a bit of a weird time. Yeah.
What do you make of the time, by the way?
Well, there must have been some backhanders, thrown around to some foreign TV channels to take it. It's just obviously ended up at 6 o'clock. It's the only time you can have it on for them to have that. So yeah, it's a peculiar time. I'm a little bit bored of it all, to be honest, all this like changing times and stuff this season. The 12:30 kickoffs are a nightmare. Like up until December, we had 6 of those. Yeah. And they were mostly home games. And everyone's just really frustrated about it. And then you see in the FA Cup now, it's like there's a game on Thursday night next week for the FA Cup. It's like, why? Why is that? And it's only for TV purposes. It's all becoming unfortunately, the game is becoming more of a TV program rather than a spectacle on a Saturday. And I think if you have a chance, go and watch the Overlap episode this week, and they were talking about that in abundance and how different the game has become over the last few years, with it becoming a TV spectacle rather than anything else. And it's heavily frustrating for fans like us who love it, really.
Yeah, I've caught a couple of snippets on socials of the Overlap, the soundbite sort of things. But we're like you. I think we went through a phase from sort of mid to late November, I believe it was. We didn't have a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday at home for the better part of 2 months. And, it's well known on our podcast and our channels that my Saturdays are sort of sacrosanct, and I love spending time with my little girl who comes along, season ticket, we're week in, week out, but that's part of our routine. So the 12:30 kickoffs, if she's playing sport in the morning, whatever it is that she's doing, and she can't make it because she's taking part in something else, it sort of kills my weekend a little bit.
It's ruining it. It's ruining it for everybody. I've heard that story numerous times. People who work earlies on Saturdays finish at 12 o'clock. They're now in like a hell of a rush to get to the matches. It's the only thing you can do is revert it back to normal and get rid of the blackout at 3 p.m. That's probably the only solution, really.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'd say on it before we move on is we've talked about it being a sort of a foreign market that we've potentially moved the kickoff time for. I'd genuinely love to know. They've looked at the FA Cup fixtures and gone round 3. What shall we have kicking off on a Saturday evening?
We'll take that one. That's what I'm saying.
Coventry City versus Sheffield Wednesday.
There has to be a backhander. It's like, okay, buy this one, and you know what we'll do? We'll give you Cov Sheffield Wednesday for free. That's that kind of deal for sure.
Maybe it's what Chancery's going to fund our transfer.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, all the £0 we're going to get from it.
Tuna books. All right. So talk to us. I know it's been a couple. We played in October. Just as an overview, things have progressed slightly. Talk to us about how your season shaped up since then. You've come into it. How are things going?
Yeah, not that good. I remember speaking to Ash before that game, and I was very confident that we were sort of going to bounce back at some point. And we've shown it in drips and drabs, but it's not sort of worked out the way we wanted it to. And ultimately, that's what led to Matt Robbins getting the chop. And then obviously that's moved on, and we've got Frank Lampard in place now. But the season itself is, even at this stage, I would say it's petering out a little bit. I don't expect us now to sort of challenge for the playoffs. Sometimes at this time of the year, you can kind of say, okay, we're only 10 points away. We'll make that move, and we did that a few years ago to get to the playoffs. But I'm not seeing enough in the team. I don't think we've got enough match winners to do that. We had Jokeres and Hamer that season to sort of propel us to that stage. I'm not seeing it this time around. And it's difficult to see. We're not going to get relegated. I think there is a hell of a lot worse teams than us in this division, which is obviously a great thing for us. But ultimately, it's going to go down as a season of failure, I imagine.
Yeah, you've obviously referenced Robbins, and he was at the time the longest serving manager in the league, wasn't he? He'd been there for, was it 8 years? I think it was
8 years. Yeah, just coming up to the anniversary of that. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that go down? You referenced him getting the chop, but from an outsider perspective, looking at it, there seemed to be a little bit of surprise in terms of him going at the stage that he did. Now, I did a little bit of sort of very quick end of the day, do a little bit of research before we jumped on, and you got to the playoffs a couple of years ago. Obviously, you were a penalty away from the Prem. I wanted to look at how your sort of season went last year. It didn't finish very well, did it? You kind of dropped off from February onwards.
Yeah, it was the FA Cup run. To get to the semi-final of the FA Cup, it's unfortunately that is going to have a detrimental effect on your league output, mainly because of how close the games are at this time of year now. You can't. It's very difficult to maintain both at the same time unless you've got a massive squad of quality, and that's why you don't see many Championship sides get to that stage of the cup competitions anymore, because it's just too difficult to do that and maintain that level. So they obviously made a decision that when we sort of got to that quarter-final stage, or maybe this the fifth round or whatever before, is that okay, we're going to give the cup a good run from this point. And it had the effect it did on the league, which obviously is difficult to take, but you can't have both. You can't be that short-sighted to say that we're going to do both things really well. It's just not possible. That's the main reason for that league drop-off last year.
Right. Was there any resentment towards Mark Robbins and the decisions that he made in terms of teams that he was putting out at the back end of last year when the things dropped off in the league, or did you understand what was going on?
Yeah, there was a broad understanding of what was going on, and we don't have the best sort of injury record at that time of the season last year either. So it was very much the same 11, pretty much from, I would say, middle of February to the end of the season. So yeah, it's I say it's just difficult to maintain those levels with the squad at his disposal. But we knew what was going on. We were quite happy with how things were panning out in the cup, and obviously very, very close to reaching the final as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You can't do both.
Yeah. And were you sorry to see the back of it?
I think I'm of a sort of a minority. I could see sort of just things sort of starting to go awry a little bit. So a little bit of a backstory. In the summer, Mark Robbins completely dismantled his coaching setup and changed from everything that had worked for him previously over the 8 years. He always had an assistant manager and a coach, or 2 coaches underneath him. This time around, he went with a 4-coach structure with no assistant manager. He had a falling out with AD Vivas, who he was very close to, and I say he's probably the catalyst to some of the the great things we've done over the last few years. He left, and then it just all went awry from there. And obviously, you make those changes, and you live by them. Basically, it didn't work out, and unfortunately, that's the same way the ownership saw it. Personally, I didn't think we were moving forward as much as other people were. I could see the performances dipping. There were certain things he was doing, like in regards to substitutions and game management and tactical sort of stuff. I was like, not really sure this is the way to be going about things. I mean, okay, that's me. I'm a nobody in the grand scheme of things, but that was my opinion of how things were going. That's not to say I was happy to see him sacked. I'm obviously very, very sad. I'm, well aware of what he's achieved for us, and he will always be well respected. He'll be a legend at the club. He'll get a statue one day, I imagine, outside the stadium for everything he's done for us. And we wish him the best now at Stoke, but it just didn't work out. And sometimes you have to make a change. You can't just keep going and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting results. And hopefully in the long term, this will be the best for us as a football club. But it's too sort of early in the Lampard regime and what's going on at the club now to say it's been a success so far.
Which leads me nicely on to my next question. You've obviously got Lampard in. How's that appointment gone down? Talk to me about Frank. What do you think? What do you make of him? The style of football, has it changed? The philosophy changed? Is there optimism around the place?
I think opinion-wise, it's very 50-50 split amongst the fan base. And I think the 50 who don't like Frank Lampard are the 50 that were really surprised that Mark Robbins got the chop. And they're sort of holding on to the hope that Mark Robbins was like the god, the king to get us where we wanted to go. So automatically, they're going to have negative opinions of the new person coming in. That's normal. It's just psychology that in that regard. As for him, it's difficult. He is someone who I think has been dealt a bad hand in terms of like people's opinion of him. He did a very, very good at Derby, good job at Derby in one of the best championships we've ever seen that season to get to the playoffs. He went to Chelsea, got them to the Champions League under a transfer embargo, brought through a load of youth players who are now playing football worldwide at the top of the game. Kept Everton up in that first season under, again, turmoil circumstances at Everton. Didn't do particularly well the following season. And then obviously going back to Chelsea was an absolute nightmare. Nobody should be doing that anyway, in regards to how they were at that stage. So I think people's basis of and their opinions of him a little bit false. As for me, I'm kind of happy he's in. We do need to be patient. We do need to give him a bit of time. His style of play is totally different to how Mark Robbins set up a team, and that is showing basically in the results that we've had over the last 8 or 9 games he's been in charge. He's got a lot of players there who just can't play that style of football, which is fine. But they were brought in under the pretense that Mark Robbins would be still here and performing. So it's going to take some time now for his signings to come in. It might take maybe this transfer window, the summer next January, before we start to see the fruits of what Lampard might be able to achieve. But it's football, isn't it? It's, you don't get much in the way of patience from football fans these days, which is frustrating. But it's a time will tell situation. But overall, I'm not sort of in this group of people who thinks it's a disaster, even at this stage. Because you will see that on Twitter. If you go and search hashtag PUSB, you'll just see people hating, and it's just peculiar.
Yeah, for very different reasons. The SWFC hashtag it's the highlight of the Wednesday week, Saturday night. So we all get home after the game and we'll sit down, and it's always Ash will be the first one. And it's this evening. I am just on the hashtag, and the opinions that are so divisive at the moment is absolutely cracking.
That first 12 hours after a match is wild, isn't it? I think this must be the case for every club. And okay, we're in the heat at the moment, and you are passionate, you're opinionated. That is, people that is people effectively.
Yeah.
And it's just a wild west of opinions. I mean, last Saturday against Norwich, we were 1-0 up with going into the 91st minute and lost 2-1.
Yeah, and
there was a blatant obvious foul on the second goal, and I put it like a couple of screenshots saying like it's a foul, and everyone's going, no, you're wrong and stuff. I'm like, well, no. In the heat of the moment, when you look back at this tomorrow, you'll see, yes, it is a foul, but you're just trying to dig everybody out here now because one, you've got some premeditated hate on this player, and two, you're angry because we've just lost. I get it, but you just got to show some calmness at some point. But this must be the case for every football club.
I think so. I think so. With us, it's very much after the back end of last season, we've gone up in an upward sort of trajectory following Danny Rule coming in. And he is a manager who is far too good for us. Far too good. He's far too good for this level, and he won't be here long. But he's got us to the point that he has, and we're now in a situation where we're flirting with the playoffs. And with, I think it's 3-4 points off sixth at the moment as we speak this midweek. We dropped 2 points against Millwall on Saturday, and the place went into absolute meltdown. So I've just whacked out a comment on socials that, look, we'd have taken this at this stage. We're in touching distance. You talked about it at the start of the show. You were 10 points off at a similar sort of stage and made a charge for it. We're talking about being 2 wins off the middle of the playoffs. If somebody had told us this, we'd have bit their hand off. But people are sort of going, oh my God, we've just drawn. We've dropped 2 points at home to Millwall. And it's because even though the stats will say Millwall have more shots on target, we have more of the play, we pass the ball better. It's a style of play that we implement. However, because we didn't take advantage in that home game, and our form's good. Our form is really good.
Yeah.
We've only lost 1 in the last 6. I think we're 4th in the form table. But people will go into meltdown, as you've just said, because that initial period, you're already thinking about the first thing you're going to post, and you're already thinking about that comment and the frustration that you had and the goal that was offside or the penalty that was never given or whatever it may be within that circumstance. It just dictates how people access it now, doesn't it?
Well, the mindset changes because of the expectation now. That's what that is. And it's happened to us. We got to the playoffs of that season, and automatically the expectation is we're going to do it again next year. So anything below that is a failure.
Yeah.
Or we got to the semi-final of the FA Cup last year. Anything we do this year in the cup,
you've got to win it.
Failure.
You've got to win
it. It's absolutely bonkers how people think.
So let's talk FA Cup then. How we just touched on it there. Jokes aside, how important do you think a cup run is for Coventry this season?
I got my FA Cup winners shirt on this evening. 87, but the cup we've won since there's the Checker Trade Cup. I didn't think we released a special shirt for that one. Or we might have done. I just missed it. I have to look on Vinted, see if there's one on there. We did a preview podcast at Sky Was Extra on Tuesday, and we kind of I said I just don't give a shit really, to be honest. I'm in that mood at the moment where I just don't care. Performances aren't great, results aren't great. We're petering out. And then I sort of took a step back yesterday and thought, well, okay, we're not going to do anything in the league. So why not now concentrate on the cup? Why not go on a cup run if we can again? At least go, 2 or 3 rounds or whatever. And you got to have a lot of luck on your side. Of course you do. But yeah, I'm now sort of going full 360 on the fact of let's go for it. I think we're well out. Like I said, we're well out of the playoff picture this year. I think we're also very safe with relegation as well in that regard. So yeah, why not aim for the cup as being something to achieve?
So just on that, thoughts just popped into my head as you were talking there. For you personally, or do you think as a fan base, if you know that you're mid-table and you're not going to push for the playoffs, and you're not going to go down. Where do you feel that you get your, the highs within the season? For me, it's, if our game coming up against Leeds, if we can get anything away a week on Sunday against Leeds, and it means that we'll have put in a performance, and I'll look back on that as, something that I can remember when I review the season at the end of the year. If we don't go up, what's it going to look like for Coventry
for this year, or just in general?
Just this year. Where are you going to get your highs in terms of this season? I
suppose Norman Bissett getting Adamovich sent off for Sheffield United with a little wink. That was pretty fun. that's a high. No,
we'll clip that for the show.
It's a good question, really. I don't think there's been too many highs this year. We have had some good performances, and we'll look back at those as like being high points. But I think with the expectation that we had as a fan base going into this year, with the signings we made, with the squad we've assembled, okay, there are some, not major gaps, I would say, but there are some gaps that need to be filled. We were all under the impression we would have done something in the league this year. That wasn't just us. That was actual like proper analysts and stuff. You look at 442 magazine at the start of the year, all those types of previews and predictions and stuff. Most had Cov top 6, maybe 30 or 40% was saying battling for automatic promotion. So that just shows, that level of expectation was there, and we're nowhere near it. We've completely underperformed. We've bottled it effectively. So it is a very difficult question in regards to where I would pinpoint them highs. Now, if we get a cup run, that's the automatic high, isn't it? Then whatever we do in this competition. But yeah, I think at this stage, Stevie, it's difficult to say where that is at the moment until we start to see how things progress in February and March.
Okay. What sort of side do you think you'll put out on Saturday?
Again, it's difficult to sort of predict this because you don't know what he is thinking. Lampard is in terms of, does he want a cup run, or is the league his priority? I do expect us to probably keep some kind of nucleus from last week and pop a few players from the fringes in there just to get mainly minutes in the legs. But we have got a few injuries. Ben Sheaf's going to be out for a prolonged period of time. One of the best midfielders in the league. Haji Wright obviously comes with a big name and lots of expectation on him. He's still out. He's only just started returning to training. Sims hasn't performed this year, so it's we're swapping and changing at the top end of the pitch quite a bit. So it's difficult to predict, but I would say that it's going to be a heavy sort of championship-based nucleus of the team, and then sprinkled in a couple of the fringe players. So as a Wednesday fan then, where am I looking? If I'm taking an uninitiated mate to the game on Saturday and they say, right, where do I need to be looking for the threat in Coventry? Where is that threat coming? Probably on the little under the subway on the walk to the ground, because there's a few little naughty boys hang around there. No, all jokes aside, at the moment it's very difficult to say where that is. Up until 2 weeks ago, I would have said Ephraim Mason-Clark, who was lighting the championship up in December until he got injured. So he's out as well. So there's another big player missing. I wouldn't be too afraid of us at the moment. It's just one of those things with the personnel we have available to us. Now, saying that, if Sakamoto is back in the team and him and Milan Van Ivak can find some consistency in their play and find that chemistry that they had so well last year, the right-hand side of the pitch is obviously a key point for us in that regard. So that might be probably the only way. Only place you need to sort of look for. Okay. It is January. We're in and I know we're talking FA Cup, but just as a sort of a holistic viewpoint, and we'll probably invite you on in a couple of weeks and see if we can review this point. What's the transfer window looking like for you guys? Any rumours, transfers coming in? Have you got any money to spend? Where do you need to strengthen? Well, we definitely need a lot of quality down the spine of the team. We need a left-sided centre half. We need a central midfielder, and we need a number 10. because the number 10 is vital for how Lampard wants to play football. And we don't have that. There's no link at the moment. It's play the ball out wide, and you're relying on a left back or a right back to get in to play there. Whereas you haven't got the third part of the triangle effectively in the number 10 to allow you to get out of that position. So that's a key area that he needs to look at. As for rumours, yeah, I mean, there's obviously always a load of rumours. Helik from Huddersfield is one to keep an eye on. Heard Louis Barry's name being mentioned earlier on today. So
we've all been linked with Louis Barry.
Yeah. At this point, he might go back to League One and Stockport. But I just don't know how. I mean, January is notoriously hard, isn't it, to get players in the door, especially quality. I mean, everyone keeps talking about, we need to look at loans and stuff. I'm thinking, well, any good loan has already been taken in the summer transfer window. At this point, any loan is a scrap unless you can persuade a parent club to bring them back in. That doesn't happen very often. The likes of Louis Barry is a rare occasion where that's happened. So yeah, it's difficult to see how things are going to sort of play out this month. There will be some kind of money available because we made around deadline day bids for players and they didn't come to fruition. So there will be some money, I suspect. And I don't think Frank Lampard would have taken the job unless he had some kind of assurance that there was going to be some money available or some deals to do during January. So yeah, it's a wait and see at this moment. Again, fans are getting frustrated because they've got no patience. It's the 8th of January, we haven't signed anybody yet. It's been open 7 days or whatever. Absolute nonsense. If people think like you just click your fingers and these players just come working through the door, it's not how things work. But yeah, it's probably one to look back on the next hello from the other side, to be honest.
We'll talk again in a couple of weeks, no doubt.
I'm really interested with you guys because of Windass, and has he gone to Brazil as of yet?
No, I've seen something. I've worked late today, so I've just come back and I've caught a clip of somebody saying that the figure was 6 figures. They were looking at 6 figures. We're not going to sell Windass for 6 figures.
No.
We're in the process at the moment. Like you say, you talk sensibilities as a fan base. I think the logical people amongst us are looking at players that we can start to move on now for money that's going to make us more financially stable. And I think we've got a couple of players in that sort of category now. In the backup goalkeeper, Piers Charles, who is Shay Charles's brother. Shay's running the show in the middle of the
It's a family affair.
Honestly,
do you want to keep me around? Bring my brother in. That's kind of the.
Honestly, we've talked about it privately, and I think I've said something, and there's been some bits on the hashtag. Shay Charles is probably the best player that we've had since we've been relegated from the Premier League, and that was 24 years ago.
Yeah, he's superb. Yeah,
he's outstanding. But we've also got Jedi Gassama, who's coming in and into a bit of form at the minute. He's somebody who's sort of kicking on. I see Windass staying. Our worry is more around the lack of activity and the seeming dissension between the manager and the chairman. I think the manager is becoming a little bit too big for us, and I think he's starting to realise it. He's a little bit too big for us, and that's not a criticism of him. It's an observation. He's outstanding, and he's going to be revered. I've never known in 35 odd years of watching Sheffield Wednesday, I've never known a manager have so much backing from the fan base. We won't erect a statue because he won't be around long enough to have it built. But he's changed the culture. He's changed the way that we feel. He's the one that if we could keep anybody, it'd be him. And if we could keep him for another 2 years, I genuinely believe we'd be a top end championship side, regardless of what was going on the pitch. So it's interesting times for us as well for slightly different reasons. But yeah.
What about Shay Charles? Are you afraid he's going to get recalled?
Yes, scared to death.
Because the sort of reports you see out of Southampton is they're looking to the future now, and to get maybe that's potential, get him into the Premier League for the rest of the year, get him some experience at that level, and potentially move him on in the summer.
So he was. I don't think he's one that they'll be looking to move on. I think there'll be succession planning or future planning.
Oh yeah, at least he's got some experience, to go back into that Southampton team in the Championship next year.
Yeah. So the hope for us is we'll retain him for the rest of the season, and he'll go, and there will never be a bad word said against the bloke. He's won more man of the matches this year than anybody else, I think, and he came out Saturday, man of the match performance, and they asked if he wanted to stay, and he just went 100%. I want to stay. Met with a round of applause and an ovation from people in the crowd that were there at the time. We'd like to keep him. We'd like to keep Rule to the end of the season. We'd like to add a couple. We're desperate for defenders at the moment. We're really struggling at the back.
Well, you can have a couple of ours because they don't seem to do very well. So
we'll do some swaps. Yeah. So we'll see where we go. The transfer window is going to be interesting for us, and it's more around the fact that we may not actually sign anyone and what that means in terms of implications for the manager and the coaching team, because they want to improve the squad. So we'll see.
I have seen a lot of sort of, the hate go towards Chanzeri, and you got a forum, haven't you, in a couple of weeks' time where Danny Roller.
This time next week, I'll be sat there.
Beautiful. I look forward to it. And he obviously said he'll speak about the transfers and stuff at that point openly and publicly, which that doesn't happen very often. So you got to take that, take that opportunity to absolutely grill him at that point, I imagine.
Fully anticipating a lot of things being lost in translation, to be honest with you. But no doubt, if we do, jokes aside, if we do end up catching up again in a couple of weeks, we might have some more bits to get after. Okay, just to sort of round us up, what were your views, your thoughts, opinions on us when we met in October? How do you see things playing out this weekend? Do you fear us? Is there anybody in particular that you're going to be looking out for?
Yeah, obviously we've mentioned Shea Charles. He is the sort of the main man. Obviously scored the winner at the CBS in October. I was in New York, so I didn't get to actually watch this game. I've obviously seen the highlights and stuff, so I can only comment from that. But it's you kind of know what you're going to get versus Sheffield Wednesday, a very hard working team who
because we play each other every other month.
Yeah. It's like a trading game now. Imagine they announce a friendly in the summer. Oh, that would be the icing on the cake, wouldn't it? We may as well.
Yeah. Start
as we mean to go on for the next year. So yeah, my opinions on that can only be taken from that game and the highlights. But it's you're always going to get a very hard working team when you come against Sheffield Wednesday. It will be a difficult match for us, I imagine. But you are travelling to the CBS, and we've got fairly decent results there over the past year. And sort of the atmosphere has changed in that ground. It's kind of become a 12th man, maybe not so much recently, but it's more of an intriguing game to see how things sort of pan out on Saturday, rather than one that I've got like full knowledge of what's gonna go down.
Yeah, know exactly what you mean. Finishes off then, Dean. Give us a score prediction.
Right, let's go 3-3 penalties. Jokes aside, maybe a snatch and grab by somebody at the end, a bit like the league fixture. Who it goes to, I couldn't call, to be honest. I'm umming and ahhing whether to even watch it, if I'm honest, Stevie. I'm at that stage of this team at the moment, whether I can be asked to watch it. I say that now, and 5:30 on Saturday, I'll have my flag out.
Go on then.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, chuck it on, will you? Chuck it on the TV. Go on, why not? But I'm not going. I've decided not to travel to the game on Saturday. Just going to watch it at home.
No, that's fine. Brilliant, mate. Dean, before we go, do you want to give us your channels a plug? Let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, of course. At Sky Blues Extra, Coventry's biggest fan base. And obviously we have a preview podcast which you can listen to as well. We do one of our lads on there went a little bit more in depth on Sheffield Wednesday, so it might be something for you guys to listen out to. But yeah, you can get that all good podcast platforms. Brilliant, mate. And for those of you that are watching that haven't yet subscribed, all our stuff is down the bottom. As you're aware, we are an award-winning podcast now. We're going to milk that week in, week out for the rest of the season. Catch us on all the social medias. My name's Stevie. Dean, thank you very much. And we will see you on the other side.
every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.